We have the second jogging murder in a week.
We have new information about the murder of a young jogger in Princeton.
Residents in Princeton, Massachusetts are on edge.
A preliminary review of the body has led the detectives to believe that this is a homicide investigation.
Imagine going for a quick daily run on a nearby road in broad daylight. Sounds like a harmless everyday activity. What could possibly go wrong? Usually, not much. But for a 27-year-old Google employee, the events of that day proved to be fatal. It was a run she never returned from. This is the case of Vannesa Marcotte. Welcome back to True Murder Cases. We send our condolences to her friends and family and hope cases like this will never happen again. Firstly, let's find out more about Vannesa Marcotte. Her full name was Vannesa Teresa Marcotte, born in Leominster, Massachusetts in 1989. Vannesa, an only child to John and Rosanna Marcotte, attended the Bancroft School in Worcester, Massachusetts. She graduated with honors in 2011 and received a bachelor's degree in communications from Boston University. She pursued a successful career in digital marketing, landing her dream job at Google in New York City. Known for her kindness and intelligence, Vannesa left a lasting impact on family and friends. She tragically passed away while residing in New York City, but frequently visited her family in Princeton, Massachusetts. Some of the other impressions about Vanessa's personality and actions include: Vannesa always found time for more than work and play. Countless hours were quietly spent helping at a food bank, tutoring and mentoring high school students, supporting Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and Children's Hospital, and planting community gardens in the inner city. Vannesa always found time to embrace the spirit of giving back. She loved running, walking, reading, yoga, and trips to Cape Cod beaches. The murder attracted much attention in the media and was compared to the killing of Katrina Vetrano, which happened in Spring Creek Park in the Howard Beach neighborhood of Queens, New York City. Vetrano was found murdered under similar circumstances a week before.
These are the last haunting images of Katrina Vetrano, taken just minutes before she was murdered on a remote jogging trail.
On August 2, less than a week before Marcotte's murder, another New York City resident, 30-year-old Katrina Ann Vetrano, who was attacked, actually assaulted, and murdered while running. Vetrano was also killed during a run, and much of the media reporting on the crime linked it to Vetrano's murder. DNA and other evidence proved the murders to have been committed by different men. The deaths of Vetrano and Marcotte sparked widespread discussions and debates about the safety of women who exercise alone. As one of the members of a foundation dedicated to safety and protection of women said, "More than 600 women are assaulted each day. We need to fight back. We need to step up. We need to advocate for a world where women are safe and free to live boldly and fearlessly." The killing of Marcotte was one of the most high-profile cases in the city in the last couple of decades due to its randomness and brutality that started a massive investigation. There were numerous debates over social media and in the courtroom that argued whether the prosecutors had the wrong person. What happened on the day of the murder and how? Princeton, a rural town in Worcester County with under 4,000 residents, boasts a scenic beauty anchored by Mount Wachusett. Known for agriculture and open spaces, it has long attracted travelers seeking refuge from city life. On August 7, 2016, it was the early afternoon on Sunday, and Vannesa Marcotte just left her mother's house on Brook Station Road in Princeton to go for a run. She wasn't planning to stay too long because she needed to return to New York by commuter bus later that day. Several hours later, when she still didn't return, Marcotte's family decided to notify the police, who launched a missing person search. Later that day, at around 8:20 p.m., Vannesa was discovered dead along a trail in a densely wooded area, which was located less than half a mile from her mother's home. The case was immediately classified as a homicide. Marcotte's body was naked and she had burns to her face, feet, and hands. Her nose was broken and she suffered big injuries to her throat. She was also believed to have been sexually assaulted and strangled. Her clothes, cell phone, and earbuds were missing, and a half-burned sneaker was found close to her body. None of her clothes were ever found, and it is believed that her killer may have taken them with him. There was also foreign DNA found at the scene. While trying to track back Vanessa's movements that day, a local witness reported that Marcotte stopped at the Mountainside Market on Hopperstone Road in the afternoon for a drink. She was last seen alive while talking to her cell phone after 1 p.m. Another witness reported they had seen a vehicle following Marcotte, which had turned around and followed her again on the road on which she was walking. According to police, Marcotte put up a huge struggle during the attack, and the attack probably occurred sometime between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Who were the potential suspects in the case? Several FBI profilers said they believe Marcotte was most likely attacked at random by a stranger, and that the killer most likely lived in or visited the area surrounding Princeton. Shortly after the murder, investigators opened a 24-hour tip line asking for any information from the public and received over 1,300 calls. It was concluded that Marcotte's attacker had been a male, likely with bruises, scratches, and cuts to his face and arms. The belief was that Marcotte didn't know her killer, and the incident was assumed to be a complete random attack. In November 2016, investigators stated that they were seeking additional information about a black or dark-colored SUV seen parked on the road at the time and area where Marcotte was killed. More than half a year after the murder, in February 2017, Worcester County District Attorney Joseph D. Early Jr. revealed further details on the investigation. He explained that the DNA of Marcotte's killer had been sent to a lab, and a profile of a suspect had been created. There was no mention of how the DNA was obtained. Based on the DNA evidence, witness statements, and other factors, authorities developed a description of a suspect: a Hispanic male in his late 20s to 30s with an athletic build, of average height, and either short or shaved hair. It was believed that the suspect either owned or had access to a dark-colored SUV on the day of the murder and would have had visible injuries to his upper body in the days after the attack. Angelo Colon Ortiz, a 31-year-old Puerto Rican native, was married with 3 children and had lived in Woodland Street in Worcester for less than a year. He had no criminal history and had worked for a third-party contractor of FedEx, meaning he made deliveries to the Princeton post office and surrounding areas and knew the area of the murder well. According to his neighbors in Worcester, he was described as perverted and often made vulgar sexual comments to people in the neighborhood. A former female Princeton postal worker also said that Colon Ortiz often made inappropriate comments in Spanish about her and other women to his colleague. On April 15, 2017, Colon Ortiz was arrested regarding the killing of Vannesa Marcotte and arraigned at Leominster District Court on April 18 and placed on a $10 million bail. The arrest happened after his DNA matched the DNA taken from Marcotte during her autopsy.
Investigates has learned police have submitted DNA samples for testing on at least one possible person of interest in the murder of Vannesa Marcotte.
Colon Ortiz's DNA testing came after a state trooper noticed a black SUV in Worcester that matched the description of a vehicle seen near Brook Station Road the day of the killing. The driver of that SUV, Angelo Colon Ortiz, reportedly matched the description of Marcotte's suspected killer, and the trooper wrote down the license plate number. Colon Ortiz was identified as the driver of the black SUV, and officers went to his Worcester residence, and he agreed to do a cheek swab test in March of 2017. Swabs are small brushes that scrape the inside of the cheek. Back to the day of the murder, a local resident recalled seeing Colon Ortiz outside his parked black SUV with the hood up, talking on his cell phone. It was around 12:45 in the afternoon. Cell phone records and data later proved that Colon Ortiz really was in the area at the time, and Vannesa Marcotte was believed to have left her home to go on a jog around 1:15 p.m. The local resident drove by the SUV again around 2:05 p.m. and the vehicle was still parked there, This time, the hood was down and there wasn't anyone around. Marcotte's cell phone data showed her phone was shut off or disabled an hour after she left her home at 2:11 p.m., which was most likely around the exact time of her death. Colon Ortiz, who usually worked the morning shift, was not working the day of the murder. The reason he went to the area that day is unknown. A hair tie and socks found on Marcotte's body tested positive for gasoline and DEET. According to court documents, the day Marcotte was killed, Colon Ortiz purchased $5 worth of gas from a store in Rutland that is located approximately 6 miles away from where her body was found on Brook Station Road in Princeton. But more importantly, DNA collected from Colon Ortiz's cheek swab matched DNA taken from Marcotte's hands during her autopsy. He was then indicted on a murder charge for Marcotte's death in June 2017 and pleaded not guilty the following month. More than a year later, in December 2018, Colon Ortiz claimed that a language barrier led him to provide a DNA sample to state police investigators without him giving voluntary consent. Colon Ortiz explained that while he is a United States citizen, he was born in Puerto Rico and he does not speak, read, or understand English. During the March visit, a Massachusetts state trooper who understood and spoke conversational Spanish but was not a trained translator worked with Colon Ortiz's spouse to explain to Colon Ortiz what was written on a consent form that would allow a DNA swab to be taken from his cheek. Colon Ortiz soon filed a motion through his attorney to suppress that DNA evidence. He claimed the troopers who went to his home to collect the samples didn't get his voluntary consent for the sample and that they seized his DNA without a search warrant. However, due to Colon Ortiz changing lawyers, a hearing never took place on that motion to suppress the DNA evidence. Through one of his new defense attorneys, Eduardo Masferrer, Colon Ortiz filed another motion in June 2020. Judge Janet Kenton Walker denied the motion to suppress DNA evidence, but described the consent form Massachusetts State Police used to collect the cheek DNA swab from Colon Ortiz as the product of carelessness. In her ruling, the judge wrote that the totality of circumstances allowed Colon Ortiz to make a voluntary decision to consent to give a sample of his DNA. During the trial, Worcester District Attorney Joseph D. Early Jr. said the Marcotte family asked the DA's office to accept the plea to spare the family from listening to details of their daughter's death. Ortiz decided not to make an impact statement out of respect for Marcotte's family. Attorney claimed Colon Ortiz is remorseful for his actions and the suffering he's caused her family. In court, family members of Marcotte, like her mom Rosanna Marcotte, and aunt and uncle Diego and Stephen Therian, shared their thoughts. Rosanna, her mom, spoke about how Vannesa was her whole world. She remembered the day Vannesa went for a walk and never came back, picturing her smile in everyone's minds. Rosanna Marcotte, Vanessa's mom, shared in court, "That is the last time I would see her lovely smile. When she smiled, I smiled. My heart was full." Referring to Colon Ortiz as the defendant, Rosanna expressed how he robbed her and her husband John Marcotte of the chance to hold their daughter one last time. Continuing her statement, she added, "Sadly, John passed away on October 16. Regardless of the medical reasons stated on his death certificate, he died of a broken heart caused by his deep and endless grief. I would like the court and parole board to take note that in the last 10 days, I have had to write John's obituary and my victim impact statement regarding Vanessa's murder, neither of which should have happened." Vanessa's father, according to her uncle Steve Therian, had commented on the death of his only daughter sometime before his passing, saying, "I'll be dead long before he gets a parole hearing." Ashley McNiff, one of the co-founders of the Vannesa Marcotte Foundation, shared, "I think having to endure this for so long is really what led him to his death. I know he's with us today, and he's happy he's finally behind bars, but it took too much out of him." Rosanna Marcotte, Vanessa's mother, added that she hopes Colon Ortiz stays in prison for the rest of his life. Vannessa's aunt Diego, holding back tears, addressed the courtroom saying, "She was a living, vibrant human being with hopes and dreams like us. I lost something that day." 6 years after Vannesa Marcotte was killed, the man accused of brutally taking her life admitted to the crime. In October of 2022, Angelo Colon Ortiz pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and an armed robbery. Colon Ortiz was initially charged with first-degree murder and an armed robbery. As part of the plea agreement, the murder charge was reduced to a second degree. Colon Ortiz's defense attorney, Eduardo Masferrer, said, "Mr. Colon Ortiz elected to plead guilty to accept responsibility for his past actions." Judge Janet Kenton Walker sentenced Colon Ortiz to 25 to life in prison on the murder charge. Colon Ortiz was also sentenced 20 years to 20 years and a day in prison on the unarmed robbery charge. Between those two charges, he will not be eligible for parole for 45 years. Masferrer added, he's remorseful for his action with Ms. Marcotte on August 6, that his actions caused her death and his actions caused so much suffering. District Attorney Early Jr. commented on the work and investigations of Massachusetts State Police, Princeton Police, and Assistant District Attorneys. The completion of this case is the result of the tireless and committed work of the Massachusetts State Police, Princeton Police, and Assistant District Attorneys who were involved in the investigation and prosecution of Vannessa's killer. We know nothing can bring Vannesa back, but we know, through the meticulous work of the prosecutors and investigators involved, justice will be served, and the plea allows Vannessa's family to move on from this tragedy. In December of 2016, Marcotte's family released their first official public statement, thanking the community for their support, and announced to the public that the family had started a website, VanessaMarcotte.org, named after their daughter, as well as the establishment of a foundation. Marcotte's family said, "We agree fully with this disposition and appreciate the District Attorney's Office for reaching this solution. We are extremely thankful to the Massachusetts State Police Detectives, Princeton Police, Assistant District Attorneys, and Victim Witness Advocate who worked to bring justice for Vannesa and who supported us throughout this process." They added they are gratified the legal process has accomplished what we always wish for, that this man will now be in a place where he can't hurt anyone else like the way he hurt Vannesa. The Vannesa T. Marcotte Foundation was established in 2017 and is dedicated to keeping the memory of Vannesa. The foundation organizes self-defense workshops for women and educates people about violence prevention, runner safety, boundary setting, and healthy relationships. The Marcotte family said they will continue to educate and protect women through their foundation, which they established to empower women, promote gender equality, and advocate for a safe world. The co-founders of the foundation, Caroline Tochi and Ashley McNiff, emphasized every 68 seconds a person is assaulted in the United States, and 1 in 10 girls has experienced harassment. Vannesa would have wanted us to take action. She'd be proud of what we're accomplishing in her honor to make the world a safer place. Marcotte had been a part of Google since January 2015, and a colleague, along with the Google spokesperson, commented, "Vannesa Marcotte was a much-loved member of the Google team, working in our New York office for the last year and a half. She was known for her ubiquitous smile, passion for volunteer work, and love of Boston sports. We are deeply shocked and saddened, and our thoughts are with her family and friends. As Vanessa's family and friends put it, we want Vannesa to be remembered for the quality of her life, the strength of her character, and the goodness within her heart, not by the tragic circumstances of her death. However, her death compels us to fight against the violence that took her from us." If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to True Murder Cases because that makes this video possible, and click on the left to see another one you might enjoy.